should say we have been having umeme governing this or overseeing this particular area of electricity, lighting up our world. But after 20 years of umeme being part of Uganda, being part of every Ugandan home, being part of us, you know, everywhere you hear umeme, when electricity disappears, we'll be like umeme has gone. You know, it has been part of us. And recently, in some years, they had introduced Yaka, where you had to buy a meter, put it in your house, and then just buy units, and then your whole world would be lit up. Is that coming to an end? That is what we are yet to find out with engineer Ziria Tibalwa Waako, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Electricity Regulatory Authority of Uganda, and she is here with us to take us through the conversation. However, she's going to first say hi to us and give her opening remarks before we get into the show. You are most welcome, Engineer Ziria. You will allow me to... Okay, you first.
Thank you, Carol. It is indeed a pleasure and an opportunity for us to be coming out to speak to the public. Allow me, first of all, to appreciate the Archbishop of Uganda, His Grace, Most Reverend Stephen Kazimba, for this initiative that we have, Family TV, and also to appreciate you for inviting me to this TV to speak and deliver information on what is happening in the transition from the 20-year period that umeme has been managing and caretaking and delivering services to the public, to the electricity consumers, and now that we are transiting to the UEDCL back to government. So thank you very much, and I'm excited to be here with you, Carol, and to be informing the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now, you will allow me to call you Ziria. I hope that is fine.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Now, to begin with, you mentioned that umeme has only been managing and caretaking this part of the initiative of electricity. But for some of us, it looked like umeme had taken over electricity in Uganda. We didn't know that actually some people, I'm sure a person walking on the streets wouldn't tell that actually it is being regulated somehow by government. And so could you shed a light on the regulation process? How has it been working with umeme for 20 years?
Thank you, Carol. It is really an interesting and an experience that he has not left not only us as the regulator, but also the country the same. Umeme was competitively procured by government, and government awarded it a 20-year concession in 2005. And that concession is coming to its natural end in 2025, specifically 31st March 2025. So we had an arrangement, and when we say as government, as the people of Uganda represented by our policymakers and government, we've had an arrangement for the nearly now last 20 years, where umeme has been in charge of distributing more than 95% of electricity in the country. The other 5%, of course, we've had the relocation agents, which was constructing and extending power to the rural area. And after that, we had cooperatives that we are operating those extensions, which now have, those extensions are now under the management of the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company, save for the West Nile, where their concession continues up to 2028, and the Kalangala Infrastructure Services, they go on up to 2031. And the expectation is that by the end of their concession, these also will join, so that we have one national distributor of electricity in the country. So the journey has been an interesting journey, full of lots of learning experiences on both sides, on both of government, represented by ourselves, but also the policymakers, but also on the side of Umeme. What is very interesting is that we are not at the same level that Umeme met us in 2005. And usually this electricity, you can evaluate its improvement and progress through the various parameters. For example, when Umeme came in, our generation capacity was just slightly above 240 megawatts. And now we are talking about 2,051.6 megawatts, tenfold. So have we improved?
Yes.
You can answer that question.
Great improvement.
When Umeme came in, the households connected to electricity, and this includes industrial, commercial, medium, large, domestic, they were at around 250,000. As we speak now, we've hit the 2.3 million mark of households connected to the grid. When Umeme came in, the energy that we were selling, you know, the sector that we regulate, you start by generating these electrons or electricity, then you transport it in bulk, what we call transmission. Then now you reach to the distribution where Umeme has been playing. So the energy that we were selling at that time was approximately 1,000 gigawatt hours. Now as we speak, we are selling nearly 5,000 gigawatt hours. So again, you can evaluate. Efficiency, the loss factor was above 38%, meaning the electricity that is generated, that is transmitted, it is fed into the distribution network, but it's not being transformed into valuable activities that fuel the economy. And it is also not delivering or yielding money to the sector. It was approximately 38%. Now we are talking about 15%, with the consumer recovering through the tariff approximately 12.7%. Again, less than more than 50% improvement in the efficiency of delivery. The collection rate, at that time we were talking about below 60%. Now there are years where the collection rate, meaning the power that you pump into the network, is it delivering value? Is it delivering the money, the revenue to the sector? Because this sector, actually what we call a tariff, a price of electricity, is the cost that you require to be able to generate, to transmit in bulk, to distribute and deliver this electricity or electrons to your gadgets. It could be the lights, it could be the motors, it could be the cookers. That is the tariff. The tariff recovers the cost of delivering that service all the way. And maybe I can also explain that this tariff is in two forms. You have the energy charge, which is the cost of a Yaka token, which we pay as we buy Yaka token. But also we have the fixed charge, because even when you are not consuming this Yaka token, when you come back to your home, you don't want to switch on the lights and the lines are not there, so that you have now to ring and first pay before they maintain, and then the electrons are delivered to your home. So whether you are vending or you are not vending, you must take care of the network, so that when you want the power, it is just at the point of switching on or switch. So I wanted to explain that the fixed charge covers the cost, part of the cost of maintaining the asset, and the asset being available all the time, whether you are vending, whether you are using or not. Because at the time of wanting to use that power, once it is installed in your household, you will not wait for us to say, see, please wait and we service. Let's now go and first maintain the transformer. No, wait, the breaker has to be oiled, or we need to add the contactors. So the fixed charge is very, very important, and it is not specific to Uganda. Across the globe, the fixed charge cost is levied, because the grid, the network, the equipment must be readily available, whether you are paying the Yaka token, whether you are using or not using. I also wanted to make some clarifications around there. So we were discussing, has this concession yielded? Have we improved? The answer is yes. Can we do better? That is why we are going through these transitions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, you talked about prices, and Umeme was a private company that happened to have to make profit vis-a-vis the government that works to serve the people. So I'm wondering, are we seeing any price drops when it comes to electricity? Because one of the reasons why you had gotten Umeme as government was to enforce performance standards. Where do we lie in the prices and also the performance standards?
Thank you very much. That is a very, very interesting question. And again, I will refer to the ongoing policy objectives that we are implementing through the various transitions, the one from Umeme to UEDCL being one of them. So the first question is, will the prices reduce?
Yes.
I want to confirm that the prices have been reducing.
Okay.
Even at the beginning of January, we announced reductions in prices. The prices reduced to the extent of 5.2% on weighted average, and saving the economy and the consumer 155 billion shillings.
Wow.
That is a lot of reduction. So the prices have been reducing, and also there has been a lot of innovation towards making electricity affordable, not only for manufacturers but for all the customer categories. For example, for the domestic, where the cost recovery price is highest, for reason is that for a domestic home to receive electricity, the electricity has to go through various longer processes than the industry. For example, it goes through the generation, the transmission, the distribution, and then these lines meander until they arrive at my grandpa's home, my home, and the more the current, the electricity flows through the wire, it warms the wires, and therefore the more the losses. So naturally, the cost of serving a domestic customer is higher than the cost of serving the industrial customer. But even with that, we've provided a lot of innovations. For example, we have the lifeline tariff. While the cost recovery tariff is at 775.7, the lifeline tariff for the first 15 units on the main grid is at 250 shillings, almost a third. That is an innovation, knowing that electricity, while it is a commercial good, because people have brought in their capex, the government is investing in capex, it is also a public good. The people who are living below the average income earners should also enjoy partly this service. So still in the domestic category, we've introduced what we call the cooking tariff. Okay. This cooking tariff is also cross-subsidized to a level of 50%. Of course, this is in line with the government policy of reducing the deforestation and working towards sustaining the environment, so that our Mother Nature takes care of us, but also we must preserve it so that it takes care of our great-great-grandchildren, so that it does not disown. So we have a cooking tariff of 412 for domestic, for units between 81 and 150 units per month. Okay. Then we also have a cooking tariff for institutions, for prisons, for schools, for hospitals, for universities, and this is at lower than 50% of the cost recovery tariff. It is at 360 shillings per unit. So all these are innovations to ensure that this electricity remains affordable and usable by the common man. And then now when you look at the industries, there's a lot of innovation. What I can share is that we have introduced 3 new tariffs, and these tariffs are aimed at promoting, incentivizing, and making our manufactured goods here competitive. So we've separated in the medium industrial category, we've separated consumers who are delivering services from those who are adding value, who are manufacturing. Those who are manufacturing, their tariff is between 10 and 5% lower than those who are just offering services. Then also in large customer category, we have done the same. We have separated the service service industry from the manufacturing industry. And again, the tariff for manufacturing industry is 5 to 10% lower than that of the service industry. And then we have the extra large. These extra large are the gasolers. They are the Tembos, they are the roofings, they are the Nightil, they are the gasolers of energy. These ones, we had a policy, a government policy, when we refinanced Vijagari. All the proceeds went towards reducing the tariffs for the extra large. We have now hit 5.7 cents per kilowatt hour, and we are working towards achieving 5 cents. So the reality is that the tariffs have been reducing progressively, using efforts to grow demand, because the more you consume, the more you spread the costs over a wider customer category, but also over a wider, huge gigawatt hour. So the tariffs have been reducing, and the tariffs, the power will even become more affordable when the government comes in, especially the concession that is ending the Umeme concession. One of the clauses that is required for us to meet as government is to pay the buyout amount. It was well thought, because the electricity network equipment, they have a long lead time. Was well thought clear that at the time of the natural end of the concession, there will be some assets where Umeme brought in capital and they have not fully recovered, hence the buyout amount. So the way government funds this buyout amount and the way they capitalize the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company, which is now going to be running the distribution business, will determine the direction of the price of electricity. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Now, the upgrade of the billing systems has been an issue that is with us here. And as you told me off air, numbers have increased. But what's happening to the vending systems, particularly Yakamitas? Sometimes you want to purchase some units and they say no. Sometimes when you use one telecom company, it accepts the other, rejects. What could be the issue, and what should a Ugandan expect?
So, Carol, thank you very much. I think this one, we as a sector, we apologize to the public that we have not done adequate sensitization for a very good thing that we are doing, because the public is not aware. It has introduced inconvenience without preparing the public. As I have shared, when Umeme came in, we had a customer base of 250,000 customers. And all along, we have been upgrading the vending system. But now, the existing vending systems, these are the systems that you use to buy Yaka, the customer numbers outgrew the vending system, or call it the billing system, and therefore the ministry, through us the regulator, we approved an investment of 4.281 million USD for Umeme to buy a new vending system. And this process has taken us about 12 months. We are at the tail end. So this vending system was the provider is Indra, the company, and we've gone through the process of installing the system. We have done the testing, we have done the commissioning, and we have done the rollover, moving customers from the old vending systems to the new vending system. And this is the process where, while on the side of the sector, it has been perfected, on the side of the subscribers that you use to vend through, that is MTN, Airtel, the banks, the payways, they also had to upgrade, because now it means that the traffic is going to be high. And this traffic is going to even increase because, as you may be aware, through a World Bank funding facility, $683 million, government is embarking on the process of connecting people onto the grid free of charge. So that now, once you are through with wiring your house, you submit an application, you pay a small fee, that is 41,300 for testing, because you have to test your premise to confirm that the wiring that has been done, one, has been done by a certified wire person, and then number two, that the installation is safe for you who lives in this premise to use, but also for your equipment and for your property, because on average Ugandans build one house in their lifetime. You don't want electricity to be the reason that your house is torched down. Yeah. So that 41,300, you pay it for inspection and testing. And then once you have done that, you pay 15,000 for the initial Yaka token. That is all that the consumer pays, and an electricity meter is delivered to their premise. And then now going forward, they pay for the energy they use. Now, through that process, we expect to connect 1 million households. Wow. And when I say households, it includes domestic, commercial, industry, large, medium, and extra large. So it means this billing system must have the capacity to grow and absorb another 1 million within the next 2 years. So that is why it was important that we upgrade it. But we are at the tail end. The period we are in is just stabilization, and we are encouraging the public, where you have an impingement, there are toll-free numbers to reach out. But my experience, my personal experience, is that there are times, for example, during the peak, where you can't vend on the MTN, but then on the Airtel, and vice versa. But also the banks are readily available. But we are at the tail end of stabilizing the system to improve customer experience, so that we are ready to grow and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also know that Umeme had its own manpower. But maybe before we get to the manpower, which one is, there are some people who think that actually the regulatory authority is taking over vis-a-vis UEDCL. If you could shed a light on that, and also the announcement of the new tariffs at the year's start.
So thank you very much, Carol. ERA is not an operator. ERA, the Electricity Regulatory Authority, is an overseer. We supervise. We supervise. Maybe to just throw some highlights into the mandate, the delegated mandate of ERA. Okay. ERA undertakes 3 areas. You can group our mandate into 3 areas, and the ERA was established through an Act of Parliament, that is Electricity Act of 1999, specifically Section 4, which establishes the authority, but also Section 10, that lays down the functions of the authority. And these can be categorized into 3. 1, we do technical regulation. What do we do in technical regulation? We receive applications for permits and licenses. We review these applications. We determine the applications for all players across the entire value chain. Because for you to participate in the electricity supply industry, you must be authorized. And this process is 2-way. We issue a permit when you are going to undertake feasibility study activities. And once you are through and you convince yourself that your dream is technically feasible and financially viable, then now you move on to the next stage, where you apply for a license. And then we take you through the process so that we then determine whether you satisfy the requirements of the law to be granted a license to perform the activities in the electricity supply industry or not. And these activities is the generation, the transmission, the distribution, the sale, the export and import. And even the undertaking household wiring is controlled by ourselves. The wire persons are certified and monitored, and their performance is overseen by the Electricity Regulatory Authority. So that is one area that we play. We allow the entry and the exit. The exit, the license comes to an end, like now, as the concession of Umeme comes to an end, all the covenants that are associated to that concession will end. Their licenses will end. They have the distribution and the sale license. The PPA, that the power purchase agreement they've been using, the commercial document to buy power from the transmission company, will also come to the end. And then the covenants they had with the government implementation agreement and any other will all come to an end. So that is the exit. The license comes to a natural end, or it is revoked for failure to comply with the license terms and conditions. So again, the next area that we play in is to we prescribe the terms and conditions against which all players in the industry play. And these have a direct correlation with the performance of the electricity network and the experience that the consumer receives from the electricity services that are delivered. Okay. We set standards, for example, the quality of service standards, the responsiveness of the licensee when you call upon them. For example, you submit an application to be connected. They are not at will to take forever. We set the timelines. When you receive an application, because we know what you are supposed to do when you receive it, the process that you take, within 10-15 days you must have connected. And if you've not connected, then that matter is raised to us, and then we zoom in. And then we also set the quality of supply standards. You are familiar with the areas where the people experience dim lights, where motors are retarding, where power is flickering. All of those, there is a standard that prevents power from doing that, so that the customer gets power, the signal that is relevant, that enables them to add value and undertake their work without inconvenience. So that is one side. Then we also approve prescribed terms and conditions for investments within the entire value chain. So if you want to invest, if a licensee wants to invest in the generation, transmission, distribution, export, import infrastructure, they submit an application, we review at plan stage, we approve at plan, and then they borrow money, they bring in their capital invest, and once you implement and you have completed, we come in to check, is the investment existing, has it been done according to the standards, was the procurement done properly, is there value for money, is the investment now delivering value to the consumer, so that now you are worthy to be compensated. That is when now we mainstream that investment into the end user tariff, and the person gradually recovers over a period of year. So that is another area that we play in. Of course, the other area is uniform system of accounts, where we are responsible for reporting. So we get all the statistics, information concerning the performance of the network, and we publish these reports so that the public is informed on how the electricity supply industry is performing. Then we are a lead agency on matters of environment, because as the licensees, the various licensees are performing their work, they are not supposed to affect the environment. So we set conditions. When NEMA approves and gives you a certificate as a player in the electricity supply industry, we mainstream those conditions into our license so that we are able to enforce them. And we report on them. They report, as well as us as a lead agency, we report. So that is the technical side. There's a lot of what happens in the technical area. But also we have the economic regulation, where specifically now we are talking at the establishment of the tariff structure, the approving of the rates and charges, whether there is a complaint or not. At times even in public interest, because you may find that the licensee is taking advantage of the public. So we have to zoom in and be able to determine the price of electricity that the consumer pays, so that there is value for money. Specifically, we balance the interests of the various stakeholders, because government is interested in industrialization. How they industrialize, the power must be available, it must be reliable, it must be adequate. Now, on the other side, government is also interested in improving the welfare of society. You know, the parish development model. And government is coming up with value addition centers. So we need power to power, electricity to power the value addition centers, but also the electricity must be reliable. People's things should not rot and perish, but also it must be affordable. Then on the other side, because government may not have all the resources, we attract private investors. They bring in capital at pre-approved return on investment. So once we've done all the inspection, verification, and we confirm that the asset has been implemented, it has been implemented to standard, it is commissioned, it's delivering value to the consumer, and then the private player is also supposed to be compensated. And of course, the other side is the consumer. The consumer is yearning for a reliable supply at an affordable price. So in summary, that is what we do. Finally, one thing that we do, and we do religiously, is to advise government through our policy head, who is the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. And therefore, for anything that is not happening, is not performing well within the electricity supply industry. We advise government through our policy head. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Engineer Ziria Tibalwa, for being with us today and taking us through this conversation. We're going to take a very, very short break, but we still have a lot to discuss. For example, the forest cover that is being depleted. We have Umeme's performance over the years. How does the regulatory authority rate it? And then also very many other things, the future of electricity in the country. So stay with us. We are taking a very short break and returning. Don't go away.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
You're welcome back to Issues at Hand. Thank you so much for being a part of Church of Uganda Family TV. Now remember, we are powered by Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe, and also we are on social media at Church of Uganda Family TV. That's COU Family TV. Right now we're live on YouTube, where you can go and join the conversation about electricity and the cost of power, the future of electricity in general, so that you can get to know where your country lies, and you as a consumer, what is going to happen in your homes regarding electricity. With me in studio to discuss these matters is Engineer Ziria Tibalwa Waako, who is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of the Electricity Regulatory Authority of Uganda. Now, to start with, off-air she was telling me about the forest cover that has been depleted, and I just want to understand more about it, just like you would want to understand about it.
Thank you, Carol.
Yes.
Uganda, like the entire globe, is wary of the global warming and the impact that it has on the environment. And as a country, we are not doing so well, because most of the energy used for cooking is biomass, or either in form of firewood or charcoal, including in urban and peri-urban areas where we have electricity. So as a government at policy level, there was a directive, especially for the north, to stop cutting down trees, and usually the main reason is that they make the charcoal and ferry it to urban and peri-urban to facilitate our cooking. Largely in our country, to put a meal on the table, more than 99% people use biomass, either in form of firewood or charcoal. So as the authority, we've come up with the innovation, what we call e-cooking, and we have done an analysis together with the Center for Renewable Energy, Makerere. They published a report analyzing at what price of electricity will cooking with electricity be cheaper than gas, be cheaper than charcoal, and cheaper than all the other forms. And therefore we've established cooking tariff for both domestic at 412 shillings. This is a cross-subsidized tariff. Remember, a cost recovery unit is at 775.7. So for units between 81 and 150, the domestic person is able to cook cheaply, buying each Yaka token at 412. And we've been asked why that band, why not from 0 all the way to the highest that I may want to use for cooking. No, it's because first of all we have the lifeline for the poorest of poor, who are using only for lighting, they are using for television, refrigeration, ironing. Those basically, we have the lifeline at 250, which is even cheaper than the 412. So an analysis was done that for you to be able to be producing heat for cooking in your home, you need not less than 80 kilowatt hours. When you are below 80, then we know you are still in radio, television, cooking, security lights. But the block between 81 and 150 units, then we know this home is using electricity either through a pressure cooker or through a gas cooker or through an electric cooker, an efficient electric cooker for cooking. So those units every month they go for 412, and it is very, very cheap. You cook for less than 2,000 shillings, and there's nowhere, no form, even if you are buying firewood or charcoal, you not cook beans for less than 2,000 shillings. Then we've also established a cooking tariff for institutions like the universities, like the prisons, like the hospitals, like the schools, and this is even cheaper. It's 360 shillings per yaka, and for them they are not capped because you know these institutions cooking, they guzzle energy up to a very huge amount. So we've done that. Now we are partnering with the development partners. We did a pilot in Mulagomana Mujimu, because that is one step. The tariff is now affordable, but they need the resources to convert their kitchen from the biomass 3-stone historical stoves to modernize the stoves where they have electric pans, where they have the pressure cookers, and it is costly because it is a front end price which you need, because you need these assets before you do e-cooking. So we are, as a sector, we are live. We are partnering with the manufacturers, we are partnering with the licensees, we are partnering with the development partners to enable the country transit from the biomass pollutant, environmentally not friendly cooking methodology to e-cooking, electricity cooking, but also as a ministry we are promoting gas cooking, cooking using gas, because you are aware that we have gas as a byproduct of the refinery activities. Yes. And this gas, we previously distributed the cylinders, our minister distributed cylinders, but also we are partnering with the companies to ensure that we have more cylinders accessible, so that also this gas complements our clean cooking. So that is the effort that we are undertaking as a ministry, because on one side you cannot say don't cut down wood, don't do charcoal, when you are not providing alternatives that are clean. So that is the effort that we are putting in to ensure that we support government policy of clean cooking. But also as a sector, we've adopted the environmental, social and governance policies to ensure that every activity that is done in the sector quantifies the impact on the environment, and that we are able to mitigate as we partner with our licenses to deliver electricity supply services to the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And because of all this information that you have given to us, there's something you said to me that said that you said 2.3 million households are now connected to power.
Correct.
But we still have very many. That means we still have a bigger ratio that is not connected to power.
Correct.
But anyway, because of time, I'll leave that there and just ask what's the future of electricity, having told us all that information.
Yes, I think Ubos puts, before it was about 7 households nationally, it grew to 9. Yeah. Now I think the recent census puts it slightly over 10. So the population is growing, people are graduating, people are building. That is why this has to be a continuous effort. But the future is bright. I've already shared the free connections. 1 million households are going to be connected, but there are also other initiatives that we are undertaking to ensure that the cost of connection may not be free, but it is subsidized. For example, you are aware that before the free connection, we had a program, a hybrid program, where we were subsidizing the cost of connection. Instead of a cost recovery, which is in between 750 and 800 for ENOPO, we had a hybrid where we had a collaboration with the Uganda Development Bank, and the government cross-subsidized about 250. Then the Uganda Development Bank was giving an advance, so that the person pays only 270 and they are connected, instead of nearly 800, which is an encumbrance. So there are a lot of efforts and programs that are running to ensure that we connect the public to electricity. And we have a target. We have 2 targets that we are running with. We hope that by 2030 we would have connected the public 100% to clean energy. Wow. This does not mean that they will all be on the grid. You are aware that we have mini grids, we have a clean rooftops, we have solar home systems, and these complement what we are focusing on is clean energy, so that we speak to the energy transition. So on that side, there is a lot of work that is ongoing, and we continue to educate the public to take advantage of the programs that we are implementing as government. continent. Then the future of the electricity supply industry can only be brighter because we remain the best regulator on the continent. We've been the best regulator of electricity on the continent for the past 5 years. Our distribution industry has been rated the best on the continent. The balancing, sustainability of the industry, balancing between the tariff C vis-a-vis the affordability, we've also been rated the best. So with the amendment of the Electricity Act through Act number 4 of Parliament of 2022, it introduced so many innovations. There are clauses there which we've been implementing that are going to make our sector even thrive better. For example, we've unbundled fully because we introduced what we call the direct sale, meaning that now a large industry can buy power from a generation facility, and they pay a wheeling charge through either the distribution or transmission, depending on where they are located, and they are able to enjoy the electricity services. Before that, the amendment of the law, whether you are neighboring a mini hydro, a solar plant, you had to wait for the system operator and the distributor to be the one to deliver the service for you. Hence, we are now minimizing the interim costs. We are minimizing the interim costs. But also the amendment of the new law opened up the transmission segment, which before was only the preserve of government. But you can imagine if you have an industrial park, the demand is there, is waiting, and the promoter of the industry is requesting that they can construct their transmission line, but because the law is not an enabler, you are waiting for when government will be mobilizing resources, even with tariff neutral project, because if there is an industrial park in waiting, once this transmission line is constructed, the demand is there to be able to earn revenue to pay for this additional transmission line which has been constructed. So we have what we now call independent power transmission regulations. They are in place. We have the sale of electricity in bulk to specify the customer category, that is direct sale. The regulation is already in place. We have net metering regulations in place, and net metering is again another very good innovation that is coming to our country. It is going to help both the consumers as well as government, because now we are moving away from consumers to prosumers, meaning you put your rooftop on your house, and the time when you need the power you use it, but the time when you are asleep or when you are off to work, like now we are here, that power is sold to the is sold to the grid. We started by exchanging, where you will this power to the grid, and at the time, for example, if it's a rooftop, you don't need to incur cost of battery. So you banker with the grid and then withdraw from the grid. And then as we continue, as the demand grows, we will be even leaving costs where the consumer now sells to the grid, and then also the consumer is able to earn in addition to using their rooftop. So this is again another very interesting one, and the public and the private investors have come in. They have started embracing these new innovations. Also, this new law changed the ownership, the shareholding of the government companies within the electricity supply industry. Before, the majority shareholding was the Minister of Finance. Now the majority shareholding is the Minister of Energy. What does this mean? It means the Minister of Energy has the policy mandate, but also is responsible for extracting performance from these companies, because they are the majority shareholder, which is going a long way in improving the supervisory arrangement at the policy level, and with our advisory role as a regulator, because for us the eyes are on. Once we see, we prescribe, we enforce, and the enforcement is not working, it means even number one would know that this my government company is misrepresenting me and is not delivering services according to what the terms and conditions that are set. So the new law also brought stringent penalties for those who vandalize our infrastructure, for those who tamper with our infrastructure. They tamper with transformers, they punch transformers, remove oil, and we lose very expensive equipment, which increases the cost of delivery. Because once the equipment is punctured, it means we must incur a cost to replace that equipment. If a tower collapses, we must incur a cost to replace that tower. So they brought in very stringent penalties. When you are caught committing an offense of tampering with an electricity infrastructure, you when you commit that offense, you are sentenced to 12 years of imprisonment and a penalty of 1 billion or both. And if you go through the utility court and you are convicted, another 15 years and another 2 billion. So these are stringent penalties. And as the regulator, we are putting in place prosecution guidelines, because this is a new law. We cannot take it that the courts of law, the utility court, are familiar. So we are putting in place, we are working with the DPP, we are working with the courts of law and the Solicitor General to put in place the prosecution guidelines so that the law is enforced, so that we are able to protect our assets. The other good thing that this amendment brought is the centralization of the planning process, so that we have the master plans updated in a timely manner, but also we have the business plans that are aligned with our national development plan now which Parliament has approved, but also we have annual investment plan. And the advantage with this is that it helps us to plan better, both for public funding, but also for areas where government may not have the resources to come in immediately. We are able then to exhibit these investment needs, and the private companies are able to come in and support. It also introduces the electricity infrastructure fund, and you may be aware that we managed to pull off Jagali because government put in seed money. So this infrastructure fund is very important. It helps us to do the pre-feasibility. We finance the pre-feasibility. We are able to do the tender documents, so that we are able even competitively to attract people who can invest in our big hydros and other technology. But the future is bright. One is that we are looking at a generation mix in addition to all those opportunities, because we've been predominantly hydro, and once bitten, twice shy. You remember that around 2000, we suffered from a prolonged drought where our generation facilities halved their available capacity. So now we are running to ensure that in addition to big hydro, we have solar in the generation mix, we have geothermal, we have bagasse, that is generation from the sugar waste, and now also we are planning our nuclear atoms for peace. Why not? The developed world, they developed using these technologies, and we cannot shy away from them. What is important is that we shall always put in place mitigation measures to ensure that we don't negatively impact the environment. Thank you.
Well, all we need to do as a Ugandan is sit back and wait for the regulatory authority to put all these systems in place in partnership with UEDCL, and we shall have a very, very bright future when it comes to the electricity sector. Thank you so much, Engineer Ziria Tibalwa, for being with us this morning.
Thank you, and it is a pleasure. It is a pleasure being here and communicating to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So you can continue to follow the program lineup, and don't go away. We still have a lot more for you coming in from the entertainment sectors, from the inspiration. We shall have family hour later, and very many other things today that you ought not to miss. My name is Caro. Thank you so much for being a part of Issues at